pass to Johnson. Johnson still going. Dummies again. Johnson. Into the one to Brown. Brown goes in to score.
Oh, he's serving it down the touchline. Oh, this is unbelievable. They're gonna win it. Oh, what scenes here, what scenes. LeBron James, a shot at history. LeBron stands alone. The NBA's all-time scoring record now belongs to LeBron James.
River up, STS back in the saddle for another week, and I say it every week, I feel like a broken record, but shit is sport delivering at the moment. You got the Joe Parker controversy, that fight called too soon in my opinion, but we'll touch on that in the weekly wrap. We have Samoa smoking Tonga in the Pacific Champs, Lukey Met, LM7, our boy extending his stay at Mount Smart. How bloody good was that news? We've got Canterbury winning the NPC for the first time in 8 years, the NBA dishing up entertainment galore on and off the court. You got players dropping 40 plus left, right and centre, plus you got the FBI, the mafia involved in a bit of a betting and gambling scandal. You love to see that. Add to that the Black Caps getting a win in the first ODI. By the time you're listening to this, the second ODI would have been last night, so hopefully we made it back to back. You got the AFC kicking off their home season with a win as well. It is all go. Add to that Melbourne Cup Tuesday coming up, the race which stops two nations, the best day for punting on ponies. Can't wait to be out at Ellerslie myself to be riding home a few winners live and then on the TV screen for the big race as well. And speaking of punting, of course, TAB podcast offer this week. We're going back to the Kiwis vs Tonga game. Can't wait for that one on Sunday. The bonus cash code this week is try time, and it applies to a first, second or third try scorer bet on that Kiwis vs Tonga game this Sunday. If your bet loses, you get up to $20 bonus cash back, limit of one per customer. Also, I just note that this week, any bonus cash received from this offer will expire in 24 hours. So, get in quick after the game finishes, place a bet, use that bonus cash, otherwise it'll expire after 24 hours. I think that's to get her done before the old Melbourne Cup on Tuesday. Just clear the air so that you can punt on ponies. But again, the code is try time, and it applies to a first, second or third try scorer bet on the Kiwis vs Tonga game. How bloody good. Also, just a quick little notice here, bit of a PSA, another Surly event being announced later this week. It is not a golf day, something a little different, so stay tuned to my socials around that. You're going to want to be at this one. It's almost like an end-of-year event, Surly Christmas party, all mashed into one. Going to be absolute scenes. You would have seen the vibe we bring off the back of those golf days, so this one is going to be the same, so get amongst it. Should be a bloody good day. More on that shortly once she's announced on socials. But another big pod, plenty of boxes to tick today. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it and talk all things rugby league, the game, which just keeps on delivering, man. How bloody good is it? Another huge week for God's game. Of course, the Pacific Championships dishing up some great results, some big crowds too over in Suncorp. Absolute scenes at Suncorp. You love to see it. On top of that, the good news continues for Warriors fans. Maybe the off-season, but we're still getting shit done. Mount Smart pumping out some positivity. You love to see it. And nothing bigger this off-season, no bigger talking point than locking up the services of Lukey Metcalf. And as the weeks went by and the rumours came out, shit was I getting nervous. You would have heard me on last week's pod literally saying I didn't know what he was going to do and weighing up the different options. I had three key factors that he had to consider. Well, it turns out literally later that Thursday, the day of the release of the pod, Lukey Met put pen to paper. Incredibly exciting for Warriors fans. Extended until the end of 2028. He came out and said, I wasn't going to test the market. It was always the Warriors for me, which just goes to show how dangerous the rumour mill can be as well. He just wanted to take his time, enjoy his wedding and his honeymoon, then come back and sign the thing off. And great to see LM7 met the jet, back locked in, Mount Smart. He is our guy. Would have won the Dalium this year if he didn't get injured. I've said that multiple times because I truly believe it. And you just love to see this. It's massive for the club. We have a great halves base now. think we have 5 halves next year in our top 30, which is bloody huge for the club too. We're showing off our depth. 3 Aussie lads in the mixer too. Jai Lynette, of course, come across from the Knights, so he will be in there fresh off an ACL too. So excited to see what Lukey Met can dish up next year when he comes back, and it's just great signs for the club moving forward. We can now plan around our star 7. Whether he moves to 6 and partners Tanner Boyd, which a lot of fans want to see, that'll be interesting. But for me, Met the Jet, LM7, he is R7, and I can't wait to see what he dishes up once he comes back. A massive signing for the club, and I know a fuck ton of fans are excited and relieved. Yeah, look, seeing Lukey back out on the paddock next year is going to be exciting stuff. Peter Vlandy, he's come out and said that he's got this idea of a global season launch for 2027, and personally, I love this. If you haven't seen the news, it's basically 24 hours of non-stop footy to kick off round 1 in 2027. It sounds like a bloody good idea to me. The concept is all these teams playing in different time zones so that from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, there's rugby league on your TV screens. Fucking genius stuff. He's talking London, Hong Kong, Dubai. They've all been thrown up as locations already. I see a few people saying, look, great idea, but will this actually happen? To that I say, when has Vlandy's not delivered on something he said he is going to do? People poo-pooed the idea when he said, I'm going to start the season in Vegas. People laughed, said you'd never get that across the line. Well, look at it now. That has been a bloody roaring success, and he's done this R360 ban. He had the COVID bubble. The bloke is a visionary. You just have to jump across to the horse racing industry, where he is from. The Everest, which is the biggest race, or the richest race in Australasia, was literally his idea. And now that's, what, a $10 million purse up for grabs? The bloke just makes shit happen, and I've no doubt that this is going to be another example of that. Man, personally, I'm all for it. I know the players are. I saw Nathan Cleary saying it's exciting. They love shit like this, right? It lights the fire in the belly. And when you've got a competition like R360 popping up and luring players with the opportunity to travel the world and play footy, throwing in little breadcrumbs and incentives like this to stay in the game, you're literally saying to the players, look, there's opportunities in the NRL still to travel the world, play in different locations. We're willing to be creative and make shit like this happen. And I reckon it is a bloody good idea. In terms of the Warriors, where I want to see us kick off the season, look, we brought the party to Vegas. We have shown we can do that. Every year we take over Magic Round. Well, why not chuck the Warriors in Ibiza, the party capital of the world? Yes, that's selfish. I've never been there, and it's a box I want to tick. But I reckon was in Ibiza or Mykonos, one of these party places south of France. Take the Warriors to Monaco. That would be unreal too. But I want to see us over in that part of the world. Personally, I'd be gutted if we were the team that stayed in New Zealand or played in Australia or something like that. I want to see Wales on the road, A, so that I get to travel, but B, also because I think we take the vibe wherever we go. Warriors in London would make a shit ton of sense as well. So many expats over there that would show up in big numbers. Imagine what? Warriors versus Storm, Broncos, one of the big dogs at Twickenham. I reckon that would sell out, and it'd be a fucking cool atmosphere too. So fingers crossed Vlandys can make this happen. I reckon it would be unreal to see the NRL continuing to push boundaries and make shit happen, and I'll be watching this story closely for sure. Then NRLW jumping across to the women's game. What an off-season it's been for the Warriors. Already announced the signing of 3 of the biggest names in the game. And to top it all off, we just go and announce Stacey Waaka will be moving to the club as well until the end of 2027. This NRLW side is looking ridiculous, man. They're going to be bums on seats entertainment next season for sure. We're a genuine chance to bring the club its first NRL or NRLW premiership next year. 4 big household names, superstars of the game being added to a side that already showed so much promise this year. And under Ron, I reckon he will get the best out of everyone for sure. He'll get the vibe, he'll get the culture going, and this team is going to be so fun off-field too. So many big personalities that are entertainers as well. They're literally going to be the team that New Zealand falls in love with, I reckon. Similar to the Black Ferns whenever there's a World Cup on. So I can't wait to see our NRLW side drop out onto Mount Smart next year. We need more home games at Mount Smart because I reckon they're going to be one of the hottest tickets in town, and they are a fair dinkum shot of going all the way. Man, I can't wait to watch them play. But onto this Tonga Samoa game, of course. the old 1 hour lightning break, but still we get a result. Literally nothing could stop this game from being played. 34 points to 6 it finished, with Samoa pulling off what has to be classed as a little bit of an upset, surely. All the experts, geez, even I was in on Tonga, and I like to think of myself as half Samoan. That's the gag being run, old Pengi Seo, but 34 points to 6, Samoa just blew Tonga off the park. It was a total domination from the opening whistle. And I was a little bit disappointed in what Tonga dished up, to be honest. I mentioned the two different build-ups last week. It was Samoa going in off the back of a hit out against the Kiwis, and then it was Tonga going in off the back of a week of connection over in Tonga, parades, getting back to the roots, and I wasn't sure which one was going to be more beneficial, but clearly it was Samoa that benefited the most. Geez, did Tonga look rusty, and you could tell almost straight away. You have to admit, losing Taumalolo pre-game was a massive blow for the Tongans. I don't think it can be underestimated just how important of a player and a leader he is for this Tongan team. He literally started this movement of Pacific Island players going back to represent their place of heritage, and I think when times were tough they would have loved to have leaned on someone like Jason Taumalolo just to pull things back together. AFB, more of a follow me type of leader than a speaker, and I think JT was clearly missed. He always goes to another level when he wears the Tongan jersey as well. But Samoa, for me, they dominated the middle of the paddock, and that just led to the scoreline in the end. I thought Junior Paulo was outstanding. Man of the match performance for me. He became the most Samoan international player, I believe, most capped, and you could tell he was a man possessed in this one. From the moment they laid down their war dance through until the final whistle, where look, they had already won this game, but whenever they were scoring tries, it was Junior Paulo going crazy. You could tell this one meant a shit ton to him. He snapped Sonny Luke in one of the best tackles of the year, led from the front. His ball playing was really good too. Did the tough stuff, but was also that link man through the middle. And he just looks really fit at the moment. And he goes to show, on his day, he can still be one of the best middle forwards in the competition. I thought he was unreal, as was Jeremiah Nanai too. Two freaky tries. When he's on, he is so good, and it's never been a question around his attacking ability. Everyone knows the aerial threat he possesses, and he showed that off for the first try. His second try, man, an outside back would be stoked to pull off an effort like that. Ball in one hand, beats a couple defenders, then drops it on the boot while he's moving at a pretty quick speed, grounds the ball beautifully. That was some solo effort, man, and I often find myself amazed. This guy is still only, 22, 23 years old? I think he's played 7 or 8 Origin games already, so he's still so young. Seems like he's been around forever. The biggest knock on him has always been his defense, to be fair, and I think you can tell when Nanai is on because he's putting on shots. Often you see him, for the Cowboys, make some pretty lazy efforts defensively, but in this game he was putting in some decent hits, and I think that's a real indication that he is there to play. I thought he was outstanding for Samoa. What an attacking threat to have on your edge. Also, I thought RTS was massive in this game, of course. Wearing the 1 jersey, ran for the 3rd most meters ever ran in a Pacific Champs game. 296. Blocker managed to butcher his name. I think he called him Tuivasa Shrek multiple times, and I'm not sure why someone like Blocker would be chosen in commentary for a Samoa vs Tonga game when he's already shown that pronunciation is not his strong point, in particular of Pacific Island names. This was a recipe for disaster, and there were multiple times there where he just butchered a player's name, but then he just stops mid-sentence, changes the subject, rolls on, and somehow people don't talk about it, which is pretty crazy. But I thought RTS was massive in this game, and you can also just tell the standing he holds amongst the team. When you turn to social media post-game and you look at guys like Brian To'o, Jerome Luai and co, the posts that they're putting up, it's photos of them with Roger, and I think it just goes to show, like, these guys came through the grades, and Roger was their idol, their inspiration. He was the Pacific Island player they looked up to be like, shit, I could be that next guy. And it's bloody cool to see him rubbing shoulders with a lot of these young superstars too. But he was elite in this game, as was the crowd. And I think we knew this was going to be unreal scenes. Pre-game, the challenges and the anthems were second to none. You had 40,000 plus people packing out Suncorp to see these two teams play. The flags were waving. People were head to toe in kit. And it was just a real celebration of two island nations, two proud island nations, and a great testament to how important international footy is. And I feel like last year, that Tonga versus New Zealand game at Mount Smart, that was a great advertisement for what international footy can be when it is done properly, and I think this was another example of that. To me, it's an absolute no-brainer, right, that we have an international window, even if it's just 1 week in amongst the NRL season, where these teams get to play each other. I 100% believe we should bring back the Anzac Test, New Zealand versus Australia. That should be a fixture for sure. And then before that, you play Tonga versus Samoa. Like, it's a travesty that these two teams hadn't played each other since the 2022 World Cup. When you look at the matchups head-to-head, they were literally 50-50 heading into this game. These two teams have a genuine rivalry based on history and just their love of rugby league, sport and banter. They're so proud of the nations that they come from. And I just reckon it makes a shit ton of sense, surely. You could literally call it rivalry round and have the Anzac game, Samoa versus Tonga. You could also have, Fiji versus PNG or the Cook Islands as well. And then you chuck the women's games on as well. Kiwi Ferns, Jillaroos, Samoa versus Tonga in the women's game too. Make it a day. Why not? Imagine Suncorp, or even better, Eden Park for us Kiwi fans, kicks off at 11 a.m. and you roll out 4 or 5 international games. It would be massive. You would sell it out multiple times over, and the scenes in the stands would be electric. So surely the powers that be are considering this and bringing it back. The international game has never been stronger than it is at the moment. I said last week, and I truly believe it, there's legit 5 or 6 sides in the men's competition alone that could win next year's World Cup, and I'm stoked to see that the Kiwis and Kangaroos will kick off and be the opening fixture for next year's Rugby League World Cup as well. But they need to make this happen. Bring back the Anzac game, make the Samoa-Tonga game a regular yearly fixture as well. Rivalry round. I don't mind it. And I would confidently say the fans would show up and spend their hard-earned money to attend that for sure. But what a game it was. Samoa just way too good. I think Tonga will be disappointed with their effort. A stack side on paper, but they were never in this one. I'm not sure their young halves combo worked as well as they would have expected, and it is to be expected in some ways, right? Like Yongi, he's not a 6, he's a fullback. So to chuck him in there at international level and partner him up with a half he's never played with before, and a lot of players he's never played with before, you can't expect him to fire on all cylinders. I did think, though, he blew that try, should have just put it down, and it cracked me up when he got up celebrating as if he scored it. Surely he knew he'd fucked that one up. I think it was Demi that was right behind him, and he was just had this look on his face like, what an idiot, straight away. He knew he hadn't grounded that ball. I also thought Samoa targeted him massively on defense. I was talking about how Tonga were going to look to get at Blaze Taulangi, but it turns out it was the Tongan 6 that had a target on his back. He was made to make the second most tackles in the Tonga side, made 31, only behind Mo Fotuaika, who made 35, came on early in the game, of course, due to Stefano being knocked out. You have to factor that in as well for Tonga, because that was a big loss. But back to Yongi, he made 31 tackles, missed 8, and I expect our right edge of the Kiwis this week to really target him as well. More on that shortly. But Samoa, they booked their place in the final. A great result for them. They're a genuine chance of winning the Pacific Champs as well. If they iced 1 or 2 of those moments that they created in Mount Smart but just couldn't finish against the Kiwis, then they would probably be 2 from 2 right now and in the box seat to take it out. So they're a bloody good side, and I'm excited for that final next week, hopefully. Don't want to count your chickens before they hatch, but surely the Kiwis are in it. It would have to be, a disaster if we are not. But onto that game this week, huge. 6:05 p.m. kickoff Sunday night at Eden Park. You best believe the Red Sea is on its way, and it is going to be a takeover. But Kiwi fans, if you're listening, get out there, wear your jerseys, wear your kit, support our side. They're going to need us. Geez, we need to make this at least 70-30% in the crowd just to show our boys and our women's side that play the Jillaroos beforehand as well. So make sure you get there early, that we are well and truly behind them. In terms of the teams for this week, look, no Ronaldo Mulitalo, who's out with an ACL. Shout out to him for playing a large period of that game with that injury. That is a bloody tough effort. No Jeremy Marshall-King as well, who is out with a thumb, unfortunately. So As a result, Sebi Chris comes onto the wing, Phoenix Crosland, he's your new starting hooker, and then Tamaire Martin comes in the 14 jersey, and the big fella, Xavier Wilson, Big X, the bloke with the coolest social media handle in the game, Mr. Stand on Business, Big X the plug, gets his crack international debut, and I'm excited to see what he can do at this level. A huge body that is in good form off the back of some big finals performances for the Broncos. Up against this Tonga pack, I reckon he is going to lay a platform, match the physicality, and potentially dominate them too. So I'm so keen to see what he does. The big talking point for me was around Keanu Keaney not being included in this side at fullback. Personally, I thought they might have gone Keanu at the back in the one, moved Chance to the centres and Casey McLean to the wing, although that would have, for me, hurt Casey's strike and X factor a little bit, because I want to see us get him early ball in the centres and let him do his thing. He debuted on the wing, of course, though, for the Kiwis against PNG, scored 4 tries. He's shown he can still make shit happen from out there. Instead, Stacey Jones, he's decided to just make the one change instead of the 3 changes and go with Sebi Chris on the wing, and I think that was probably the logic behind it. Ruffle less feathers, just stick to that team that won last week, only make the 1 changes as necessary. Crosland into 9, another example of that, and just go for minimum disruption. So I think that's the mindset around it. I just do think Keanu Keaney, heck of a footballer, and I would love to see us find a way to bring him into this team. I do like Tamaire at 14. I think he offers us great versatility. If for some reason old Papa Foreign, Uncle Kieran, can't get through the 80 minutes, which I back him to, he's tough as shit, but if he goes down in the 7, then Tamaire can come on and play that playmaking role. He can also do a job at hooker. Shit, Kieran Foreign could even move to hooker. Give Phoenix a spell, chuck Tamaire at 7. He can also cover fullback. So we all know how versatile Tamaire is. He's literally a Swiss Army knife, and I think he'll play that role really well. He played a bit of lock for us against Penrith too for the Warriors and really fronted up physically, so he's shown he can do that too. Strong Kiwi side, looking forward to seeing us play. Then you got Tonga, big boost for them. Jason Taumalolo, old Taumailaho. He has been named back. That knee niggle is gone. Loaded up on fish oil, ligament lube, and he is good to go. Massive, massive inclusion. Unfortunately, though, they do lose their origin centre. Rookie of the year, controversial. Wonder if there's a little bit of awkwardness between him and Lecker in the Tongan camp. Highly doubt it. But Robbie Toia, he is out with a foot injury. And prop Stefano Utuikamanu is out with concussion, of course. So in comes Panthers star Paul Alamotti. That is a bloody handy inclusion to bring in. He comes in at centre. And Felice Kalfusi, old Finn Diesel, he moves into prop to cover for Stefano. With Dolphins' young gun, Fine Fuiaki, listed on the bench as 18th man. Good to see Lecker and Demi both named on the bench right from the opening minute. I thought both were really good in that game last week. Did look a little short for minutes and fitness at times, but I'm really keen to see how they go at their second taste of international code, and no doubt they'll be fired up for this one up against plenty of their Warriors teammates and back on New Zealand soil too. Keys to me for the Kiwis, got to win the middle, and I actually thought that performance from the Samoan middles against Tonga and how dominant they were was a great hat tip to our lads the week before and just how massive we were in that area, because I thought the Kiwis pack got the better of Samoa, and this Tongan pack is stacked, and the fact that Samoa were able to dominate them that much, I thought was a real compliment to us. So Tapune, Fisher, Harris, Moses, Leota, and co. Now you chuck Big X the plug in there too. Nafahu White, Aaron Clark. Fuck, do we have some bodies through the middle, and we're going to have to rise to the occasion and dominate that, lay the platform yet again. Halves, rinse and repeat, kick plan from last time, just roll that out again, and then let's get early seed to your Casey McLeans and your Matty Tomokos. I reckon we go hard at that right edge. Tomoko, Aizako, Britain Nikara, running at Iongi all day, make him make a fuck ton of tackles yet again, put him under fatigue so he can't pull off those razzle-dazzle plays that he likes to do. For Tonga, they just have to get a roll through the middle to allow Isaiah Katoa a platform to pull the strings off the back of. A lot of people really critical of his performance last week, but to be fair, he wasn't really allowed to play good footy. It's so hard as a 7 to be dominant when your forward pack is just getting rolled. So Tonga, they need to set the tempo through the middle of the paddock. So Lever Havili needs to lift at 9 as well and offer them a bit more there. Early ball to Tolu Kola and some of their exciting outside backs, and they could make a real day of this. I think the crowd is going to be massive too. That will give them big momentum lifts throughout this. I will say though, Kiwis at Eden Park, last time we were out there, we trounced Samoa, and I reckon playing at this venue means a lot to a number of these guys. It really is kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, because it's not often you see the Kiwis play at the Garden of Eden, and I reckon the boys will respond in a major way too. So I've got the Kiwis winning in a tight one. More on that in the punting section shortly. Kiwi Ferns versus Jillaroos. That is before this game, as I mentioned. Unfortunately, I think the Jillaroos are just going to be too good. We have the potential to really rattle some cages, but we are missing some key players and some big names. I think the Jillaroos just looked so good against Samoa last week. That try Julia Robinson scored on the weekend, that was one of the best tries I've seen. Of course, the men's and women's game, to be fair. She was literally like that scene from the Titanic, but just didn't have Jack to hold her. Diving through the air, got horizontal, caught it in the air. It was like a catch in the slips. Wouldn't look out of place in the Aussie cricket side, but she is an unreal athlete, and this Jillaroos side is just full of those. So I think they will be too good for the Kiwi Ferns, unfortunately. But next year's World Cup, when we're back to being stacked, I reckon we'll give them a red-hot crack. And then finally, the Ashes, Game 1. Pretty dusty code over there in Wembley. I was pretty high on the English. I thought that they could push them, in particular in this first game, but shit were they woeful. Aussie get the win 26 points to 6, and the fact they completed at only 66%, but still won by 20 points, just shows how bad the home side were. I think they got a few selections wrong. Don't understand why AJ Brimson wasn't in their team, and the fact that both of their starting props ran for under 40 minutes just shows that they were well off the pace. I thought Aussie weren't exactly unbeatable either. They made their own errors and mistakes, but in the end, the individual brilliance of Reece Walsh, fuck me, like I'm legit contemplating drinking toilet water and making every Northcote player in preseason next year do the same, because there has to be something in there. It can't just be a coincidence. The bloke has been fucking on a tear for the last 2 or 3 months now, and I'm just waiting for him to crash down to earth and have a shit game. And I kind of thought his international debut over in England, like a different scenario to what he's been presented before, a totally different circumstances, international footy, English fans ripping into him and making it hell. But man, he just tore them to shreds. 242 run meters, 2 tries, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists. His crazy run of form continues. He is by far the best player in the world at the moment, and to think he's still just starting his career is insane. Angus Crichton, the other standout for the Roos, I thought he was fucking good in the second row, and I tell you what, it doesn't scream positive signs for England in this series. They were woeful. They will need to lift. I think the Kangaroos will only get better too, and I think this weekend they get pumped. But again, more on that shortly in the punting segment. So Rugby League, the greatest game of all, it continues to roll. Metcalf re-signed, gotta love it. Stacey Waaka locked in for next year, NRLW. Vlandy's, his plans are global expansion and domination, and I back him to do it. Warriors in Ibiza or Mykonos or Monaco, let's make that happen, please. Big horse. Kiwis versus Tonga, Jillaroos versus Kiwi Ferns. Strap in. It's going to be another great weekend of Rugby League. The game that they play in heaven, and I can't wait to watch it. See you out there at Eden Park, Sunday Arvo and night, few pre-tins at full time. Why fucking not? Canterbury NPC champs, and as much as it hurts to say that, I always reference to them as Canterbury, but geez, are they a bloody good football side. 36 points to 28. They walk away with deserved winners of the Bunnings Far Cup. They've been the best team all competition. Only blimp on their radar really was losing the Ramfurly Shield to Otago, but apart from that, they have been clinical for 80 minutes every damn week, and this week was no different. There was a game of 2 halves. Otago led at the break by 4 points, but you'd have to say she was at least maybe a 10-point win. They had a big breeze at their backs, and while they would have been stoked to head into Oranges up, you could tell that that lead wasn't enough, and you just had that feeling in your gut that Canterbury were going to turn the tide, and that's exactly what they did. Second half, they just played field possession perfectly, put the ball in the right areas, and then from there, they were too good, just too clinical. Their 4-pack was great around the paddock. On defense, their line speed has been relentless all year, and they don't miss many either. 28 points, sounds crazy to say, but that's probably the least amount Otago have scored in, the last couple of months. I think they were on a 30-plus streak there for a bloody long time. So credit to Canterbury for holding them under that. And then their work at the breakdown. Tom Christie, That bloke is into everything. Heading offshore next year, of course, so great to see him be sent out a winner. He's just one of those players, right? 10 years ago, he probably would have been an All Black 7 because he ticks the boxes of your traditional 7, every single one of them. Tackles McGee into every breakdown, great at turnovers, does all the little things, work rate and effort rate of doom. It's just his ball handling skills in those other areas around the paddock where someone like Ardie Savea has him well and truly covered. But Tom Christie, man, what an inspirational leader he's been for this team. What a player and a servant he has been for the Canterbury and Crusaders jerseys. And I reckon he'll be sorely missed by them. But stoked to see him go out with a medal. I thought the Canterbury backline was really good as well. In particular, that experienced midfield of Dallas McLeod's daughters and Braden Enor. Yeah, look, they were just too good in the end, at home, in front of a passionate crowd. I do have to tip my hat to the Otago supporters that travelled. Shit, did they make this one a good atmosphere. And when Otago were leading this game, you could just hear them roaring through their TV screens. So shout out to the lads and lasses from the Dirty Dunners for making the trip up to Christchurch. It was a good year for Otago. I don't think that this loss should hurt their confidence too much. They're a young team full of talent. And look, they showed up and played a decent performance. It's not like they were incredibly disappointing. It was just the better team won on the day, unfortunately. I thought Christian Leo-Willie was arguably one of the best players on the paddock too. Continues to put his hand up to Razor and say, pick me to wear the black jersey because I am a footballer. But when you factor it in, Lucas Casey, Dylan Pledger, the Pledge Hammer, Cam Miller, all these guys, Sammy Gilbert, unfortunately he's departing offshore too, but he is a great talent. Joe Nanariki, let's get freaky. Man, Otago, they have unearthed some names that will be wearing the golden O for a bloody long time. You'd have to think next year they will be another title threat again. Canterbury, on the other hand, it's going to be hard not to back them in to go back-to-back. Yes, they lose Christie, but they do pick up a pretty handy footballer, some bloke called Richie Moanga, who will be coming back and playing his first rugby back on New Zealand shores in the NPC. The show and go from Richie Mo, that'll be on display. They'll be under the roof in their new stadium, Te Kaha, as well. Yeah, geez, hard to tip against them. Pretty crazy. They hadn't won since 2017. For some reason, I had this feeling that they always win, but maybe that's the Crusaders effect rubbing off on me there. But well done to Canterbury, deserved winners. Hard to argue with that. On to this week we march, though, and it's an international footy fest. How bloody good. You got England versus Aussie, South Africa versus Japan, Scotland versus the USA, and then the All Blacks versus Ireland, the main event, 9 a.m. Sunday morning. Good to see the lads enjoying Chicago, heading to the B-Ball, getting behind the Bulls, making some collab content with them, which is bloody cool to see. It's about time rugby really dives into this. And it's good to see the players making individual content too. We had Ruben Love and the lads doing the great race throughout Chicago, the amazing race, sorry. We've had other guys doing travel vlogs and things like that. This is exactly what we want to see from rugby. For so long, I feel like the players have been hamstrung. They've been choked out from making their own content and showing this side of themselves. Maybe now they're finally realising we need to dive into it, and what better way to allow the players to do it than in America, literally where American athletes do this shit non-stop. It's a vibe over there. It promotes this type of thing. So I am rating seeing all the players really diving in. Shit, we even had Ardie Savea at a press conference wearing Meta glasses. He was filming the journos, filming him, asking him questions. Bit of a fucking rigmarole right there, but geez, if I'd said that a year ago, I wouldn't have believed you. ASAV, always pushing the boundaries, and he is the man to do it. But yeah, great to see All Blacks getting amongst it, getting stuck in. But of course, all of this will be for nothing if we lose this game, and I can already hear the Karens on Facebook saying, oh, they did too much going to the basketball, fluffing around with the media, needed to focus on rugby. I have no doubt the boys will be locked in, and I can't wait to watch this one. Team gets named Friday morning, 7 a.m, another bugbear of mine. Surely we could name the team earlier so that we could talk about selections. What this does do, though, is allow us to talk about possible selections, areas of contention, and for me, there are a few. The midfield, the back three, and the loosies, they are the biggest talking points for me. In the midfield, does Quinn keep his jersey, the 13 jersey that he ripped up against the Wallabies in the loosies? Is it Wallace at 8, or is it Peter Vlandy to complement who you'd have to think would be Ardie Savea at 7 and Simon Parker at 6? And in the back three, is it Lester, Bumfer and Will the Thrill, or is it Caleb, Bumfer and Will the Thrill? That will be interesting. Personally, I would like to see Quinn wear the 13 jersey. I don't think you can take it off him off the back of that performance, and I'm not sure the All Blacks saw him as a genuine long-term option there. When they picked him there against the Wallabies, I do think they wanted to give Proctor a rest, and I think they thought that Quinn deserved the opportunity to start, so they just slotted him in the 13 jersey. But I think he showed the attributes of a perfect 13, and I think he probably rattled a few cages with that performance now. So now the selectors are faced with the tough task of, do they go back to Proctor, whose jersey it was before Quinn put on that performance, or do you reward performance in the last game? And personally, I think it would be incredibly harsh if they don't give Quinn another crack. I wouldn't be surprised to see Proctor on the bench and he gets some minutes there, but I think Quinn should get the start in the 13 jersey. Lucy's, personally, I would go at Wallace at 8. World Breakout Player of the Year last year, and yes, this year, he hasn't been quite as impactful, but in saying that, I think every time he has played, he's looked good. It's just been injuries that has kept him off the paddock, stopped him from getting into a rhythm and finding that form of last season. I still think he's our best number 8, and he complements Artie and Simon Parker really well. In saying that, Peter Vlandy been in good form lately too, so I have no problems if they go with Vlandy starting Wallace off the bench. I think both of them will be in the 23 for sure. It's just around which one starts, and I think I like Wallace at 8 personally. And then back 3, is it Leicester or is it Caleb Clark? Similar situation to the Quinn Tupaia one, right? Where Caleb Clark ripped up at Eden Park against the Wallabies. Thought he was one of our best. Then, of course, picked up that ankle injury. So he was ruled out of the next game. Leicester gets his first opportunity back and he carves up. So do they stick with Leicester or do they bring Caleb back in? That will be interesting and probably a pretty tough call, to be fair. I mentioned before Proctor on the bench. You could not have him on the bench if you rolled with a Leicester off the bench who could cover midfield, 13, and also wing, and maybe that's the option I want to see. I was going to say I want to see Leicester start, but maybe I want to see him off the bench in the 13. That would be interesting too. Speaking of bench, the other thing I'm really interested to see is if Ruben Love gets a crack off the Remu in the 10 jersey. Of course, no Bodie available for this test, so D-Mac will start. He'll partner Roygaard in the 9-10 combo. But I want to see Ruben Love come on 50-55 minute mark. Hopefully the game's locked up by then. We've got to say a 10-point lead or something like that. And in comes RL 15 just to rip things up. I think he's played less than 100 minutes in his All Blacks career so far, despite being in the squad for multiple years now. And I reckon he has potential to be a game breaker off the bench in the 10 jersey. I want to see him and Will the Thrill partner together, 10-15 combo, because I reckon that could be fucking exciting. Excited to see Roygaard play his first Northern Tour as well, starting. I think this is where he really announces himself to the rugby world. Of course, footy fans already know who he is. One of the best 9s, if not the best 9 in world rugby. But I don't think the North have seen just how good this bloke can be regularly starting up against your English, your Scotland, your Ireland. So I'm really keen to see him start his mark here. I'm expecting a strong side to be named. I don't think we'll be mucking around on this tour. Even Wales, that last game, who have been dog shit lately. I expect us to always roll out our strongest 23. I think the squad we named, how missionary it was, really similar to the Rugby Championship, just shows that Razor and the coaching staff, they want to go 4 from 4 to finish the year strong and just shut down any of these whispers around their first year in charge as the All Blacks coaching staff. I also think revenge will be on our mind after losing to Ireland in Chicago last year. So I think we bounce back and get the dub. Also excited to see Barbarians versus All Blacks 15 played this weekend as well. Joshy Jacob at 10, Caleb Tangito on the wing, Jacob Ratamatavuki Nepkins. You expect all of those guys to be in the mix. Really keen to see how they handle that next level. Of course, it's not new for Jacob, but for Tangito in particular, I reckon he's a future All Blacks winger, 100%, and I'm keen to see how he goes against a Barbarian side that, while they get on the piss all week, they still front up and play. They are literally the definition of piss up and front up, and they will play some good footy and really test this team. There's going to be points galore in that one. Anytime try scorers, wet dream if you're having a punt this weekend, which we'll segue into now, the old punting and weekly wrap. But enjoy your international code, shit ton of it, and get up the ABs. Let's bounce back in Chicago and avenge that loss from a couple of years ago. Weekly wrap and punting chat. Everyone seems to be enjoying this kind of combined format, so we'll continue to roll with that for the rest of the year. Joe Parker, let's start there. Absolutely gutted for him. 6 seconds left in round 11, and the referee, the English referee, may I add, steps in and ends that fight. Pretty crazy scenes, and look, I can see both sides of this, but personally, I thought Joe was incredibly hard done by. Up 8 rounds to 2 in some people's eyes. I think 7-3, even 6-4 if you want to be really conservative. But I'm yet to see a judge or an expert that didn't have Joe winning that fight as it got called off. I reckon you at least let him finish that round. 6 seconds, yes, I get it. He was taking some shots. Wardley had him on the ropes, but at the same time, a lot of those shots he was either blocking or they were missing. They were big swings, but they weren't exactly hitting him plumb in the head. I thought Joe, in amongst the chaos, looked reasonably calm and controlled, and I didn't think that warranted that stoppage. To me, it was 100% early, and it tarnished what was a bloody good fight, and it really does hurt Joe as well. He's been working so hard to get that Usyk fight. Usyk comes out in the week and says, I'll fight the winner of this biff. And it's pretty crazy, right? Wardley rocks up, wins this scrap as a big underdog, and now straight away he gets the shot at those titles, something that Joe has deserved a crack at for at least the last couple of years. But that's the sport. Shit, is it a fickle game, especially boxing, one that's known to have controversies like this. This was an unreal scrap, though. Really enjoyed it. Right from the onset, both of these guys, they didn't stop swinging. End of round 3, I think it was. Joe looked like he was going to knock Wardley out. Both of them looked knackered. I don't know how this fight lasted as long as it did. Both boxers took some massive shots that I think on any other day against any other opponent, both guys would have been knocked down, but not these two. Tough as shit. Have to say, enjoy the fight style of Fabio Wardley as well. He's just got this ability, right? He did it against Justice Hooney too, where he can take shots, look down and out, and then all it takes him is a 30-second flurry, and he can win a fight out of nowhere. But shout out to Joe, came into this fight pretty heavy. I think he was about 140 kilos, had almost a 20 kg weight advantage, which was clearly a tactic. He used his size to get him off the ropes and walk Wardley down, even when it didn't look like he was winning the fight in certain times. But yeah, tough pill to swallow, man. Really do feel sorry for Joe. Bit of a reset needed, no doubt. I know he hasn't done a lot of media, a lot of talking post-fight, so clearly he's feeling this one too. So shout out to the big Kiwi. We love your horse, and I can't wait to see him get back in the ring. I think he's still only 33. So it's far from over for him. See a lot of people exaggerating, jumping to it, saying that's probably the end of Parker. There's no way. His run over the last couple years has been massive. He's established himself as one of the best boxers in the world, and I reckon he deserves another crack at Wardley before that Usyk fight. And I get it's Usyk's retirement fight, and he wants to go out with all the belts. But fuck, it just seems so harsh that Joe now is left with nothing after the run that he's been on, especially the way this fight finished. I can't help but feel like, lad, and maybe that's bias coming in, but I thought he was incredibly hard done by. If you had Wardley, well done to you, especially live. I heard the odds got up to as high as 8 in fight for Wardley to get the dub, and if you had him by KO, TKO, that would have been paying massive bickies. So if you're a turncoat and you went against our Kiwi lad, or if you're listening from overseas, of course, well done to you. You capitalised on some inflated odds and you reaped the rewards. Pacific champs, let's get into that. The punting for this weekend, Kiwis versus Tonga. Looking forward to this game Sunday night. Best believe I'll be there, bums on seats. Head to head, geez, all the money is coming on the Kiwis. Clearly, last week's result against Samoa has affected these odds massively. Of course, Tonga, they bet us last time out, but they're paying $3.10 to get the win here. Kiwis, $1.36. Winning team and margin, your best backed. Kiwis 13 plus at $2.30. 1 to 12, $2.85. Tonga 1 to 12, $4. Tonga 13 plus, $8.75. The line is 9.5 rugby league points. To be honest, I see the Kiwis winning this, as I stated before, but I think we do it in a close one. And that 285, 1 to 12, incredibly appealing for me. I'll take us head to head, and I'll take us 1 to 12 as well. In terms of your anytime try scorers, I love us attacking down that left-hand side defensively for Tonga. I reckon we will send a lot of traffic that way, which suggests to me Jermaine Isako Matthew Tomoko and Britton Nikora are your players to go here. Outside of that as well, I love myself a Dylan Brown, and I think if you're watching a Kiwis game and not punting on a Casey McLean at $2.40, then you need to get your head checked. Him first, second or third is always a great shout, as is Matty Tomoko in this one. As we saw last week, Isaac Tango cross first to get the game underway for Samoa. That was down that edge that Matty Tomoko will be on. I think Yongi is going to have to make a shit ton of tackles yet again. So I'm going to go with Matty Timoks as my first, second or third try scorer option in this one. McLean paying $4.60. Remember to use the code TRYTIME as well. But Matty Tomoko paying $6.60. A $6.60 bet. And I believe they have a new album coming out as well, $6.60. So maybe that's an omen that this one is going to hit for the Tongans. I know that AFB is going to be incredibly popular. Anytime you can get him at decent odds, as he is here, $7.25. I don't mind that at all. Their middles got dominated last week, but I expect him to respond, and that is some big coin right there. Daniel Tupou, $2.55, and then the duo I like, Tolukola, $3.60, Ali Katoa, $3.70. Those would be my bets for Tonga. If you're a Warriors fan, Leka Halasima at $5. Leka my balls. He might be the option that you jump on. But for me, Kiwis, head-to-head, $1.36. Kiwis 1-12 at $2.85. Matty Tomoko, first, second or third try scorer at $6.60. I reckon our right edge is in for a big day on attack. Your other Pacific Champs games, Papua New Guinea up against Fiji. Now, I'm just going to give you a winning team and margin one in this one because I was surprised. This game's in Port Moresby in PNG, and while they didn't look amazing last week against the Cook Islands, I expect them to be a lot better for the hit out. They're paying $2.10 the home side, $3.25, 1-12 to get the win PNG. The locals will pack this one out. They'll be up for it in a major way. So I really don't mind getting on PNG 1-12 there and extracting some odds. Kiwi Ferns versus Jillaroos, unfortunately. Look, I can't see this being too positive for our side, so I don't want to touch on it too much, but I will be taking the Jillaroos. The line of 22.5 is appealing, though. Kiwi Ferns plus 22.5. Surely we don't get pumped that bad, although the bookies having the Jillaroos at $1.25 for 13 plus suggests that they think it is going to be one-way traffic. England versus Australia in the Ashes. England $6.20 home underdogs. The Aussies $1.13. The line 18.5. Rugby League points. I think the Aussies pumped them. I think they put on more points than they did last week. $1.45 for Aussie 13 plus would be my way to go there. For your try scorers, Angus Crichton and Reece Walsh, Mark Ngawanganetawase. Those three are my picks. Jump on board right there. I think it's going to be a good old-fashioned Rugby League hiding over there in England. So plenty of league action still to punt on this weekend. The doubles market as well of a try scorer and winning margin, which I fell in love with last week. Matty Tomoks into the Kiwis. That would be my play there. But remember, try time code, first, second or third try scorer in that Kiwis versus Tonga game. Get around that. All Blacks versus Ireland. Looking forward to this. She's a bit of a Super Sport Sunday, actually. So strap in early doors. It gets underway. You got the Ashes into the Wallabies versus England, into South Africa versus Japan, into Ireland versus the All Blacks. So, if you love yourself a sporting smorgasbord, then this is exactly that. 9 a.m. kickoff too. This is Eggs Benedict time. How bloody good. Maybe even a cheeky little morning beer. Why not? It's a Sunday. Then you roll that into the Kiwis Tonga and the Jillaroos versus the Kiwi Ferns. Fucking can't beat that. Ireland $2.60 head-to-head. New Zealand $1.47. As I referenced last time we played in Chicago, Chi-Town, the home of Kanye West, controversial character, so maybe don't reference that too much. But the All Blacks, $1.47, we went down. I reckon we bounced back, and I'll be taking those odds. Winning team and margin, I like us winning 1-12 to it, $2.70. I expect this to be a close game. The Irish, they are always a bloody good footy side, and I don't see this being any different. For your try scorers, of course, teams not named at time of recording, but I love myself a Kemi Roygaard, old Roids. I love myself a Bumfer, a Leroy Carter, and if you're not betting on Will the Thrill, then you don't understand rugby union. So those would be my 3 best bets. My same game multi is going to be All Blacks head-to-head into Cammy Roigard, into Leroy Carter. And for a first, second or third try scorer option in this game, you have to back Bumfer. If he has a bad day, then I'm absolutely tucked on the punt because he is going to be on everything I get around on in the All Blacks. But his first 3 tests, he scored first or second in every single one of them. So you back the algorithm, you back the stats, and you hope that he can get it done. In your other games, I like England to beat Aussie in a close one. I think South Africa pants Japan, and that's reflected in not being able to bet on South Africa head-to-head. They're literally paying $1.01. Japan, $31. Tough scenes there. Put up a good fight against the Wallabies last week, but I think South Africa are a different kettle of fish, and they'll roll out a decent side too. I think Scotland will pump USA, and then, chuck us, New Zealand, in there for an international rugby multi to tickle your rugby union punting fix. NBA, Thursday slate. Today's games, 10 of the beauties. Geez, it's a stacked card. You have to love it. The pick of the bunch for me, I think Rockets versus Raptors in Toronto will be a good one. Magic versus the Piss. That'll be a good game. Lakers, T-Wolves. Those are the headliners right there. Friday, just the 4 games. And in those, I like the Magic, the Bucks, the Thunder, and the Spurs to win. Wemby, he's been insane at the moment. They're legit going to have to give him a separate hoop, I reckon, because that current hoop, he barely even has to jump to dunk, and he is making some freakish plays, 360 layups, all that type of shit. Looks so standard for him. They always say that he's an alien, but this is absolute proof of it. He almost needs his own separate hoop next to the one that his team's scoring on. That's maybe, 12, 13 foot high, just to make the game a little harder for the bloke. Defensively, he's swatting everything, blocks galore, and then he's just walking down the court, pulling up from the logo and sinking threes. His handles are insane too. It's just legit unfair at the moment. He's better than an NBA 2K My Player rated 99. He literally is. I made Ben Searle. I got drafted in NBA 2K, first or second. The storyline dictates where you go, but still, Ben Searle, 7'2", couldn't do the shit that Wemby was doing in real life, which is fucking crazy. So the NBA, they probably need to look at a way to make the game harder for Wemby. In all seriousness, no. If he stays healthy, once the Spurs get De'Aaron Fox back, they're going to be legit. Jeez, this bloke, Wembanyama, he is going to be a presence in the NBA for so long to come. There's 4 teams undefeated so far. Thunder, Spurs, Sixers, and Bulls. I believe a couple of those teams play today, Wednesday, time of recording. So maybe that is fake news by the time you're listening, but it's great to see there's also been 16 players that have dropped 40 or more points in the opening week or so of this season. It's an NBA record, pretty crazy. Austin Reeves, Luka, they've both done it twice. We've even had Laurie Markkinen dropping a 50 ball, Aaron Gordon dropping 50 plus too. If you told me that a week ago, I wouldn't have believed you that those two would go off, including AR-15, who's clearly enjoying Luka not being out on the court at the moment, but showing that in a contract year for him too. If someone was to offer him 30-40 million to run that team, then he wouldn't look out of place doing that. So great signs there, but geez, have players been showing up and balling out to kick off the year. We've also had an FBI investigation into gambling involving the Mafia, Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, all involved in their own little separate things. It's been bloody entertainment deluxe. You love to see it. Thunder going to 2 double OT games. They're literally copping everyone's best performances, as you'd expect when you're the defending champs. But the NBA, it's just dishing up storylines galore. When you factor in, too, the injury toll early doors, like we already have LeBron and that not playing, but Luka, he's been out now for a little while. Then you got Anthony Edwards dropping out. You got stars not available for these teams early, but still, guys are just showing up and balling and making it an entertaining watch. So the NBA ticking every box early doors, and shit, is it exciting to think about how bloody good this season could be. A-League, Week 3, shout out to the AFC, of course, kicked off their home season last week with a win, 1-0 against the Western Sydney Wanderers. A great result in front of the Port. Good to see everyone showing up. This week, we host Adelaide, back at Mount Smart, 5 p.m. kickoff. Adelaide with 1 win and 1 loss. They're sitting in 6th. We, of course, are sitting in 3rd. tied with the Phoenix, who are in second, so that's a bit of a chip on shoulder. We are the best team in New Zealand, but I'd like to see us get another win here. I think we do so as well and keep a clean sheet again. Back-to-back weeks at the Fortress without conceding a goal. We haven't conceded a goal all season, to be fair. Only 2 games in, so that statement may sound a little more dramatic, but still, defense, level 4 lockdown, COVID restrictions still applying when the AFC are in the building. So I reckon we get the win, and I'm going to run back the 2-0 exact winning margin as well. I'm going to keep playing that bet at home until it bloody happens at decent odds up the AFC. NFL round 9, halfway point of the regular season of the NFL 2, with the Colts, Patriots, Broncos, and Steelers leading the AFC. Fucking bizarre to say that. And then you got the Packers, Eagles, Bucks, and Seahawks leading the NFC. It's been a wild season so far. Bloody hard to pick, but still, we've been doing all right on the Carmichael punt, hitting 80% plus each week. So stay with me as we continue to ride home some winners. This week, I think the Colts vs Steelers Monday morning, that'll be a great game in Pittsburgh too. So maybe the Colts, their top of the table record on the line. Chiefs vs Bills, that'll be a doozy. Normally 1v2 or 2v3 top of the table clash. This time though, it's 5 vs 7, which is something a little different. 49ers Giants, that would have been a good watch, but unfortunately my man Scat, the running back for the Giants, out for the season now with an ankle injury, and CTE probably catching up to him extremely fast as well. But my bets for this weekend, I'm going to take the Niners to beat the Giants. I'm going to take the Colts to beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh. A little bit risky, but I'm going to back them in there. I like the Packers to win. I like the Lions to win. I like the Patriots, the Chargers, the Rams, and the Ravens. Chuck all of those in a multi. Drop 1 or 2 if you're not feeling as confident. Maybe you do drop that Colts game and run her a little bit safer, but I like my picks there, so get around them. Another great weekend of sport, of course, Melbourne Cup coming up on Tuesday as well. Stay tuned to my social media. I'll be sure to chuck plenty up around that for you to jump on board with. I would talk some ODI cricket, but recording this before that kicks off, so I don't want to give you the odds for a game that would have already been played by the time you're listening, but hopefully the Caps can go back-to-back. A dominant display in the first ODI. Shout out to Folks. I thought he was unreal with nut in hand as well. We're 2-15 underdogs again, so telling you now, so you can listen to this tomorrow, I will be jumping on New Zealand. Hopefully we can go back-to-back at good odds and start off the punting week with a hiss and a roar. Who am I kidding? It's not starting the punting week. I've been riding home NBA same game multis all week long, and remember too, same game multi in the NBA, good little promo chat there. It applies like your NRL 3+ leg same game multi. Misses by 1, you'll get your money back in bonus cash up to $50. 1 game per day, but have yourself a flutter. It's bloody entertaining stuff, and there's literally games every day, so you can scratch your punting itch responsibly, of course, and at the TAB. But go well this weekend. Right, that's us for another week of the STS pod. Really appreciate your ears. Cheers for tuning in. YouTube doing some crazy numbers, actually. See massive growth over there. So if you're watching on YouTube, really appreciate you. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts, also appreciate you too. Have a great weekend on the punt. Hopefully you're tipping some winners. Remember the code try time, first, second, or third try scorer option in that Kiwis vs Tonga game. And also remember, as I said in the intro, bonus cash will expire 24 hours after the game, so make sure you use it early. Melbourne Cup Tuesday too, so get around that. Going to be a bloody good day. I'm going to be out at Ellerslie myself watching some ponies, so if you're heading out there, look forward to sharing a couple tins and hopefully some winning bet slips with you as well. But go well, enjoy the weekend sport, up the Kiwis, up the ABs, and I'll catch you back out, same time, same place next week. Big Fizz.